Section 5. Trustees to execute a declaration of trust. For the better security of the united and consecrated interest of the Church, and to the proper uses and purposes stipulated in this covenant, it shall be the duty of the trustee or trustees who may be vested with a lawful claim to the real estate of the Church to make and execute a declaration of trust in due form of law, embracing all and singular the lands, tenements, and hereditaments, with every matter of interest pertaining to the Church, which at the time being may be vested in him or them, or that may in the future come under his or their charge of office during his or their said trusteeship. And the said declaration shall state expressly that the said trustee or trustees hold all such lands, tenements, or hereditaments, and all the personal property of every description belonging to the Church or society in trust for the uses and purposes expressed in and subject to the rules, conditions, and regulations prescribed by the covenant and constitution of the said Church or society, or any amendments thereto, which shall hereafter be adopted by the general approbation of the Church, and in conformity with the primitive faith and acknowledged principles of the society. And the said declaration shall be in writing, duly executed under his or their hands and seals, and shall be recorded in the book of records provided for in the preceding section. Section 6. Vacancies in certain cases and how supplied. We further covenant and agree that in case it should at any time happen in the course of divine providence that the office of trustees should become wholly vacant by the death or defection of all the trustees in whom may be vested the fee of the lands or real estate belonging to the said Church or society, then, and in that case, one or more successors shall be appointed by the constitutional authority recognized in this covenant, according to the rules and regulations prescribed by the same. And the said appointment being duly recorded in the book of records provided for in this article, shall be deemed and is hereby declared to vest in such successor or successors all the rights, interest, and authority of their predecessors in respect to all such lands, property, or estate belonging to the Church or society as aforesaid. Article 4 of the Eldership, Section 1, Choice and Appointment of Elders. The united interests and objects of believers, established in gospel order, require that elders should be chosen and appointed for the spiritual protection of families whose business it is to take the lead in their several departments in the care and government of the concerns of the Church and of the different families established in and pertaining to the society. Their number and order should correspond with that of the ministry. They are required to be persons of good understanding, of approved faithfulness and integrity, and gifted in spiritual administration. They must be selected and appointed by the ministry, who are to judge of their qualifications. Section 2. Duties of the Elders. As faithful watchmen upon the walls of Zion, it becomes the duty of elders to watch over their respective families, to instruct the members in their respective duties, to counsel, encourage, admonish, exhort, and reprove as the occasion may require, to lead the worship, to be examples to the members of obedience to the principles and orders of the gospel, and to see that the orders, rules, and regulations pertaining to their respective families or departments are properly kept. Article 5 of Family Deacons and Deaconesses, Section 1, Their Qualifications and Appointments. The office of family deacons and deaconesses has long been established in the Church and is essentially necessary for the care, management, and direction of the domestic concerns in each family, order, or branch of the Church. They are required to be persons of correct and well-grounded faith in the established principles of the gospel, faithful in duty, closely united to their elders, and of sufficient capacity in business. Of their qualifications, the ministry and elders by whom they are chosen and appointed must be the judges. Their number in each family is generally 2 of each sex, but may be more or less according to the size of the family and extent of their various duties. Section 2. Their duties and obligations. The deacons and deaconesses of families are entrusted with the care and oversight of the domestic concerns of their respective families. It is their duty to make proper arrangements in business, to maintain good order, watch over, counsel, and direct the members in their various occupations as occasion may require, to make application to the office deacons or trustees for whatever supplies are needed in the several departments of the family, to maintain union, harmony, and good understanding with the said office deacons, and to report to their elders the state of matters which fall under their cognizance and observation. But their power is restricted to the domestic concerns of their respective families and departments, and does not extend to any immediate or direct correspondence with those without the boundaries of the church. They have no immediate concern with trade and commerce. Therefore it is not their business to buy and sell, nor in any way to dispose of the property under their care, except with the counsel and approbation of the trustees. Article 6. Privileges and obligations of members. Section 1. Benefits and privileges of members in church relation. The united interest of the church, having been formed and established by the free will offerings and pious donations of the members, respectively, from the commencement of the institution, for the object and purposes already stated, it cannot be considered either as a joint tenancy or as a tenancy in common, but as a consecrated whole, designed for and devoted to the uses and purposes of the gospel forever, agreeable to the established principles of the church. Therefore it shall be held, possessed, and enjoyed by the church in their united capacity as a sacred and covenant right. That is to say, all and every member thereof, while standing in gospel union and maintaining the principles of this covenant, shall enjoy equal rights, benefits, and privileges in the use of all things pertaining to the church, according to their several needs and circumstances. And no difference shall be made on account of what anyone has contributed and devoted, or may hereafter contribute and devote, to the support and benefit of the institution. Section 2. Proviso. It is nevertheless stipulated and agreed that the benefits, privileges, and enjoyments secured by this covenant to the members of the church shall not be considered as extending to any person who shall refuse to comply with the conditions of this association, or who shall refuse to submit to the admonition and discipline of the constituted authority of the church, or who shall wilfully depart from the principles and practice of those religious and moral obligations which have been established in the church, agreeable to the primitive faith and distinguished principles of this institution, of which refusal or non-compliance the leading authorities acknowledged in the first article of this covenant shall be the proper and constitutional judges. Section 3. Obligation of the members. As subordination and obedience is the life and soul of every well-regulated community, so our strength and protection, our happiness and prosperity in our capacity of church members must depend on our faithful obedience to the rules and orders established in the church and to the instruction, counsel, and advice of its leaders. Therefore we do hereby covenant and agree that we will receive and acknowledge as our elders in the gospel those members in the church who are or may be chosen and appointed for the time being to that office and calling by the authority aforesaid, and also that we will, as faithful brethren and sisters in Christ, conform and subject ourselves to the known and established faith and principles of our community, and to the counsels and directions of the elders, who shall act in union as aforesaid, and also to all the orders, rules, and regulations which are or may be given and established in the church, according to the principles and by the authority aforesaid. Section 4. Duties of the members. The faithful improvement of our time and talents in doing good is a duty which God requires of man as a rational, social, and accountable being, and this duty is indispensable in the members of the Church of Christ. Therefore it is and shall be required of all and every member of this institution, unitedly and individually, to occupy and improve their time and talents to support and maintain the interest of the society, to promote the objects of this covenant, and discharge their duty to God and each other according to their several abilities and callings as members in union with one common lead, so that the various gifts and talents of all may be improved for the mutual benefit of each other and all concerned. Section 5. As we esteem the mutual possession and enjoyment of the consecrated interest and privileges of the Church a valuable consideration, fully adequate to any amount of personal interest, labor, or service, devoted or consecrated by any individual, we therefore covenant and agree, in conformity with an established and well-known principle of the Church, that no person whatever under its care and protection can be employed for wages of any kind on his or her individual account, and that no ground is or can be afforded for the recovery of any property or service devoted or consecrated as aforesaid. And it is also agreed that in case of the removal of any member or members from one family, society, or branch of the Church to another, his, her, or their previous signature or signatures to the church or family covenant from which such member or members shall have been removed shall forever bar all claims which are incompatible with the true intent and meaning of this covenant, in the same manner as if such removal had not taken place. Yet all who shall so remove, in union with the authority aforesaid, shall be entitled to all the benefits and privileges of the order in which they shall then be placed, so long as they shall conform to the rules and regulations of the same. Article 7. Dedication and Release. Section 1. Dedication and consecration of persons, property, and service. According to the faith of the gospel which we have received and agreeable to the uniform practice of the Church of Christ from its first establishment in this society, we covenant and agree to dedicate, devote, consecrate, and give up, and by this covenant we do solemnly and conscientiously dedicate, devote, consecrate, and give up ourselves and services, together with all our temporal interest, to the service of God and the support and benefit of the Church of this community, and to such other pious and charitable purposes as the gospel may require, to be under the care and direction of such elders, deacons, and trustees as are or may be appointed and established in the Church by the authority aforesaid. Section 2. Dedication and Release of Private Claim. Whereas, in pursuance of the requirements of the gospel, and in the full exercise of our faith, reason, and understanding, we have freely and voluntarily sacrificed all self-interest and consecrated and devoted our persons, services, and property, as aforesaid, to the pious and benevolent purposes of the gospel. Therefore, we do hereby solemnly and conscientiously, unitedly and individually, for ourselves and our heirs, release and quit claim to the deacons, our acting trustees of the Church, for the time being, for the use and purposes aforesaid, all our private personal right, title, interest, claim, and demand of, in and to the estate, interest, property, and appurtenances so consecrated, devoted, and given up. And we hereby jointly and severally promise and declare in the presence of God and before those witnesses that we will never hereafter, neither directly nor indirectly, under any circumstances whatever, contrary to the stipulations of this covenant, make nor require any account of any interest, property, labor, or service, nor any division thereof which is, has been, or may be devoted by us, or any of us, to the uses and purposes aforesaid, nor bring any charge of debt or damage, or hold any claim nor demand whatever against the said deacons or trustees, nor against the church or society, nor against any member thereof, on account of any property or service given, rendered, devoted, or consecrated to the aforesaid sacred and charitable purposes. In confirmation of all the aforesaid statements, covenants, and promises and articles of agreement, we have hereunto subscribed our names and affixed our seals.